Just exactly how much recoil improvement are you purchasing when you spend $300K on Meta HK? We're going to answer that right now. Hello Tarkov gamers, my name is Turbo Hacker, and today we're going to be pitting a stock HK against a best-in-class meta HK and look at the recoil differences in-game. I'm talking about actual spray patterns here. Because of the variance in every spray, we can't just shoot one magazine and call that the pattern, okay? We have to take an average across multiple sprays from the same gun. This average is a much truer representation of the actual spray pattern of the gun over the course of gameplay. For those of you who are new viewers, my YouTube channel is dedicated to deep dive analysis. Like this video and subscribe to see more Tarkov testing. By the way, I stream on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Come by, drop a follow, and hang out. I've got Steam card giveaways. You like that, yeah? All right. So today we're going to be shooting 4 magazines from each gun and overlaying them to see the truest representation of the gun's performance. The stock HK is brand new, straight out of the Peacekeeper vendor. No modifications have been made. The Meta HK has best-in-slot attachments for the gun, perfect for the series of tests that we're performing today. We're going to be running 4 different tests, starting with stationary hip fire, and then moving on to stationary ADS or aim down sights, and then moving on to moving hip fire and moving ADS. Okay, so test 1 is the stationary hip fire, and we're going to start with the stock HK. This will serve as a good baseline for us. I'm going to speed this up so I don't bore you to death. I chose to take the red laser off of the Meta HK, as this has a dramatic effect on exclusively the hip fire. Awesome. Exclusively the hip fire performance, and I want to see an apples to apples comparison of the recoil stat as a whole. The Meta HK boasts an astonishing 34 vertical recoil. This ought to be a good test today. Okay, so for test 1 stationary hip fire, that went about as expected. The stock HK has a recoil total of 302. That's vertical and horizontal added together. Meta HK has a recoil total of 125. I think that this is pretty predictable. The Meta HK has a incredibly tight pattern, extremely pronounced on the horizontal, and a lot of improvement on the vertical as well. All around, very, very good performance increase. Okay, test 2 is going to be the stationary aim down sights. We're going to start things off with the stock HK and then move on to the Meta HK. Now moving on to the Meta. As you can see, I'm lifting the mouse off the surface to ensure an accurate spray pattern every time. Test 2 stationary ADS, and once again the Meta HK completely outperforms the stock HK, which I guess is to be expected. Still, it's really good to see just exactly what kind of performance increases we're talking about here. The vertical recoil on the ADS is very substantial. The stock HK does have a pretty tight grouping, although that first bullet, there's a huge jump in the vertical recoil of that first bullet and all subsequent bullets from the rest of the magazine. I mean, look at that jump. The first bullet is right on the money, and the 29 following rounds never get back down to that original position, ever. I mean, they just stay up there. The entire rest of the mag dump is probably, what, like a foot and a half above the original point? Keep in mind, I'm taking my mouse off of the desktop in order to ensure that there is no correction to the spray pattern. The difference between the first and the second shot, the first bullet placement and the second bullet placement is huge. If you're spraying a target, I mean, that's huge. All right, let's move on. Okay, test number 3, moving hip fire. Once again, we'll start with the stock HK. I'm using 5.5 HP ammo, as this round has 0 modifiers to recoil or accuracy. And now the Meta. I have to take a screenshot of every 2 sprays because the game starts deleting my bullet holes after around 70 bullets or so. Okay, test 3 moving hipfire. This one is really weird. I would have expected the meta HK to outperform the stock here, but really it doesn't. Or at least maybe it does in the very beginning of the spray. It's a little bit more of a tighter pattern and less vertical recoil, but there's one spray that just goes completely off the charts on the bottom spray. I mean, I don't know. Chalk that up to maybe just complete randomization, maybe? Actually, the spray ends up being a little bit longer on the meta, which is odd. Like, all the sprays are longer. This is a weird one, guys. I would say if you got rid of that one weird spray on the meta, the rest of them look like they probably outperform the stock, but just of small margin. Yeah, this is the weirdest one out of the whole grouping. I'll go ahead and say that. Very odd. And finally, test 4, moving ADS. Once again, start with the stock. And now the meta. Okay, and now test 4, the moving ADS. And this group of sprays is far more in line with what my expectations would be for a meta versus stock comparison. The meta is much more flat. The vertical recoil doesn't go up nearly as much as the stock. And the bullet placement is far more regular than with the stock. Okay, so the conclusion. Like I said, test 3, the moving hipfire, that was a really weird experiment, and it looks like the stock almost outperforms the meta in that case. Very odd, that test. That's the moving hipfire. You know, obviously we're doing this test without a laser on the meta, and I know lasers specifically help hipfire accuracy, but you would expect a lower recoil stat to affect the moving hipfire stat in a more impactful way, and it certainly does not appear to do this, at least with the 4 mags that I dumped. So, very odd. However, the remaining 3 tests, number 1, the stationary hipfire, we had some dramatic improvements to the spray of the gun. However, most people are probably not going to be hipfiring, or if they do hipfire, it's going to be at very short distance, where spray spread will probably not be a huge factor. Still, it's good to know just exactly how tight that spread gets. Test 2, the stationary ADS, the meta just completely outshines here. This is what you're paying 300k ruples for. Now, I'm talking, let's see, we probably have an extra 2 foot of spread here on the stock height versus the meta height. And this is where the value comes in paying for your gun. Look at that first shot placement on the meta HK. That first bullet is the same first bullet for every 4 sprays that I do. Look at the second bullet. Bullets number 2 through 30. Look at the height, the jump on the meta HK versus the jump between the first and second bullets on the stock HK. That's what you're paying for. That right there. Is this worth 300k ruples? I don't know. You know, if you're new to Tarkov, or if you have, you know, under a couple mil in the bank, maybe not. You know, maybe it's better to go with something that is a little bit more controllable. However, you know, if you're sitting on, you know, plus 5 million or 10 million and you've got money to blow and you deem this to be of critical importance to your success in Tarkov, then, I mean, here's the results, and they are irrefutable. So the HK is a favorite by streamers like Landmark, who swear by its rate of fire and accuracy. Test 4, the moving ADS. Once again, ADS is where you're making your money, okay? When firing on the move, look at these sprays. This is consistent. There's not a lot of jump look at the difference once again. But the difference between the first and second bullets on the vertical height is dramatic. With the meta, you're getting a lot more consistent performance, much less vertical recoil, which translates to less compensation on your mouse during the spray. And you're probably going to be able to get more rounds on target with the meta performance here. So all in all, guys, if you have the money to kit out a meta HK and you don't mind losing the gun in a raid, this is the kind of performance gains that you're going to be paying for. And it's good to know this kind of stuff. The differences here between the stock and the meta are pretty dramatic. But once again, you know, it's Tarkov, so somebody sitting in a bush with a hunter can take you out. So, you know, is it worth dropping 300K plus the cost of the gun on a meta HK just to do a single raid? I don't know. You know, maybe if you've got the money to risk, it's like going to the casino, right? If you've got the money to lose, sure, you know, have a blast. If you can't afford to lose the gun that you go into the raid with, then, you know, maybe that money is better spent on, you know, like 5 SKSs or some hunters or something like that. Or, you know, even the DMR, man, the DMRs are, especially that black one, the one that shoots the M80 rounds. Oh my God, that thing's a beast. That's been my resident sleeper for the past couple weeks. Man, that thing hits like a truck. So there you go, guys. The differences between a stock HK and a meta HK in all their glory. Like and subscribe if you like this content. If you want to see more weapons analyzed, let me know down in the comments. Also, I stream on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Feel free to come in and drop a follow and let me know what you think. Happy hunting. We'll see you next time.
I was heading to upper engine because I did the fuel task and I decided, hey, you know what? I'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
You'll kill. You said.
Wait, no.
He said you'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone? By that, do you mean crewmates? You f***ing imposter.
No.
Is that